he'll be speaking to us about debt financing. Please welcome him.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the JBDC for again putting on this event geared primarily towards small businesses. I know it has been a long day, and most of you would have now been suffering from information overload. So I won't bore you too much with too much details, except to say that the Exim Bank continues to be a partner to small businesses. You would have been accustomed to seeing me and hearing me speak about the products of the bank, but I believe that my presentation this afternoon will be of greater benefit to the small businesses here, were I to speak about some of the issues I think that affect small business, rather than necessarily financing per se. Because a big part of the problem that affects small business is the inability to access funding. Funding is available, a whole lot of money is in the marketplace. You just heard Mr. Streetforest spoke about the stock market. The market is buoyant. It has gone up by some 25% just in this first quarter. So there's a lot of activity taking place. There's money out there. But the problem with small businesses, I find, is that very often they're not ready to borrow, right? It's the age-old problem. You don't keep proper books. You don't pay taxes. You tend to operate below the radar. You tend to not put yourself in positions where banks find you attractive lending proposition. And I think I'd like to probably focus a little bit on that this afternoon, because I believe that I want us to benefit, both of us to benefit from this presentation, because as a lender, I would probably say that more than 50%, when at a function like this, what will happen next week is that a lot of persons will come knocking with their ideas, with their projects. But you really can't engage them seriously because the projects are not properly put together. You would have listened to the first presentation, and Mrs. Forrest was at pains to point out that even at the level of the small business, when you enter the junior stock exchange, one of the things you must open yourself to is scrutiny. You have to keep proper books, you have to set up accounting systems, you have to have an audit committee. All of that is geared towards your having a business that is transparent, that in which people can impose trust, because a big part of the relationship between a bank and a customer, trust. And the trust is demonstrated in the kind of books that you keep. The believability of the books. It is often said that businessmen have 2 or 3 books. Don't know if it still happened, but it is often said. And in fact, I have had the experience, because some of my customers are my close personal friends. And I've had the experience of getting a set of accounts, management accounts from a client. And when I question certain things, because those accounts were not prepared for me, they were prepared for somebody else. But because I'm intimate to the company, and I said, but you told me so and so, 2 weeks ago. I said, oh, Charles, sorry, I your accounts this one. The point is that we have to get away from that, right? As we move into the global marketplace, where you're inviting persons to look at your business seriously and invest, we have to get to the point where we start trusting each other, we start believing. Yes. Here's a mic. You're a bit premature. It's not question and answer time, but actually the question. Yes. Yes. Interest rate. Okay. Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, fine. Very excellent point. And I'll deal with that point. But even before we come to the interest rate, you have to be able, first of all, a lending relationship is a contract between banker and customer. So even before we come to the question of interest rate, what I'm saying to you is that you have to prepare business propositions that are well thought out, well structured, believable, because what happens several times, is that you go to a bank or you go to Mr. Street Forest or you go somewhere and somebody says to you, you need a business plan. So you go and employ my friend here to prepare a business plan for you. He doesn't know your business, So he's putting together some numbers which he thinks would impress me. When it comes to me, and I start to question you as to what are the assumptions behind these plans? How is it that you're going to move your revenue from $10 million this year to $300 million next year? You're not going to be able to answer those questions because those are not your numbers, right? So let us start with, first of all, with when you approach a lender, be prepared. It's like going to an exam. It's like going to an interview. If you're going to an interview at the World Bank, you probably wouldn't sleep the night before because you deemed that interview to be so important to you that you would put yourself in the best possible shape to go to the interview. And I'm saying to you that too often we find small businesses coming to lenders and they get turned away because they're not investment ready. And then they go out and blame the banks, and the banks are not the only lending to big customers. The truth is that the big customers are always ready, right? The irony of it is that the big customers have the wherewithal to employ the accountants, employ the lawyers, employ the various technical persons to put these things together. But the point is that there are institutions, there's JBDC that provides technical assistance that can assist you to put your books together. There is JAMPRO, right, that can assist you to put a proper business plan together, such that when you come to interface with a bank, your chances of success are improved, right? And that is my first lesson this afternoon. On the question of interest rates, well, I'm happy to say that Jamaica is experiencing interest rates in the market that have not been seen for a long time. That's a fact. I've had customers say to me that they can borrow money in the general market at rates lower than they can borrow from me, which is significant, because traditionally, Exim Bank and the development banks offer the lowest loan rates in the market. But banks tend to price loans on a risk basis. So the fact that Mr. Davis could go to a bank and get $10 million to borrow at 10%, it doesn't necessarily mean that I could go and borrow $2 million at 12, because I may be deemed to be a poor risk. And let me tell you something, you see. Don't scoff at the credit bureaus. I don't think the message of credit bureau has yet sunk in, but the credit bureaus are going to play a very significant part in decision making where lending is concerned. So, the practice again, borrowing money from Bank A, not settling it, and then running to Bank B and doing the same thing, those days are over. Because the credit bureau is going to make everything transparent, right? So if you don't pay a light bill, for instance, right, a simple thing like that, it's going to show. So when we do the investigation, we're going to see that you borrow money from Harold Davis and you didn't pay him. Or, those kinds of things. So we're talking about transparency, we're talking about accountability, right? Those are the key factors. It is possible that you could never run a business before, but somebody know you. So Mr. Davis may know you and call me and make a recommendation. We do lend on that basis, that somebody recommend you highly as a person of integrity, right? How the banks do that, we may put on a percentage or two to cover the risk, right? But the fact of the matter is that interest rates in the market now are at their lowest ever. The development banks are offering loans ranging from 10 to 12%. The commercial banks may be a little bit higher, right, for their non-A-class customers. Well, sorry, for their non-A-class customers. But you can get monies to borrow in the credit unions. I know that there are institutions that lend money at 1% per week. Those are not the established institutions. So we're not in that ballpark at all. For the benefit of this discussion, the Exim Bank ought to be your preferred partner in trade financing, in working capital financing, and for equipment financing. The fact that the market has become a little bit muddy now because basically with all the competition in the market and with low interest rates, basically the divide between the banks are less stark. How do we distinguish ourselves in the market? We distinguish ourselves in the market by a couple of things. We have lower fees. I mean, I have sat on platforms with my friends from the commercial banks, and you know, when the people in the audience start to fire darts at them, I kind of have to move aside because for fear that people are, you know, questioning and concerned about the high fees that the banks charge. We're not in that marketplace. We don't charge, so we are a low fee environment. Number two, when we price a loan for you, that price remains fixed for the life of that loan. It is commonplace in the market that interest rates tend to fluctuate within a given time period. At Exim Bank, your interest rates are fixed for the life of your loan. Whatever rates we contract, those rates hold true. The third important consideration is that on equipment loans, so if you are in the business of making embroidery, and you want to buy a six-head embroidery machine, we will assist you by allowing you to use that machine, brand new machine, to provide 60% of the collateral value for the loan. I don't think you're going to find too many institutions that do that kind of thing. All right? Because of our developmental focus, we will use the equipment. We'll use your working asset as part of the collateral package. And the remaining 40%, you can use other equipment. So you could come to the bank and borrow a loan to expand your business, right, by buying capital goods, and use your working assets to secure your loans. No, it's not normal. It's very abnormal. So primarily what Exim Bank does, we provide working capital. We provide working capital meaning short-term financing to buy raw material, to participate in your business, right, to meet your short-term expenses. We provide financing for equipment acquisition. We assist you to purchase technology. Our financing are available in both Jamaican dollars and US dollars. At what we like to think are still competitively priced interest rates. We will allow you in cases where we are buying capital goods to use those goods as part of the security, providing the equipment is serialized. I don't want to leave here without speaking to our trade credit product. Because we're an import-export bank, where export is a very important part of what we do, we encourage Jamaican producers, especially small businesses, to look to the export markets. The Jamaican market is still very small. You pretty much saturate that market very quickly. There is Cuba to the north of us that has almost 12 million people, which is what, 3 or 4 times more than we have here. The bank offers a line of credit to Cuba. You know, people always had this concern that if you ship to Cuba, you won't get paid because Cuba is outside of the international market, capital markets. Well, we've bridged that gap. For the last 20 years, we have had an arrangement with Banco Nacional de Cuba where we have offered a line of credit to Cuba, specifically to Jamaican exporters. The idea is that if you're able to get a contract in Cuba, and there are a lot of, I believe that there are some companies there that are in the tourism, provide services to the tourism sector, T-shirts and those kinds of things, leisure wear and stuff. Cuba is a big tourism market, and if you're able to break into that market with your exports, we will take from you the headache of worrying about being paid. Once you ship the goods to Cuba, and those goods are certified by the Exim Bank to be meet a minimum Jamaican value added, because what we don't want to happen is for people to go to China, buy t-shirts, or buy spreads or wash rags and ship them off to Cuba. We want you to buy the raw material. Even if you're going to buy the rolls of towels, and you cut them and stitch them and put on your lip thing, if that value added component exceeds 35%, and you have a contract with Cuba, and you ship those goods to Cuba, we will pay you immediately upon shipment. So once you put the goods on board the vessel and give us a bill of lading and the invoice, we will pay you. We will then extend, or we have extended to Bank National a credit arrangement for up to 360 days. All right? So the payment is not your concern, the payment now becomes our concern. And those loans are at 6.25%, but then that's not a cost to you, the exporter. That's a cost to the Cuban bank. But allied to that, though, is that once you're moving into an export market, there are certain risks which are attendant in exporting. Chief among which would be the risk of non-payment. I mean, despite the fact that we have internet and information is available universally, you still have situations where buyers and sellers are engaging in trade and they don't really know each other. And so you may send a container of Akis to a buyer in Canada, and after the third or fourth go around, the buyer decides that he's not going to pay you. Now you, the exporter, the Jamaican exporter, small exporter, now find yourself in a situation where you have put together your 40,000 US dollars in a shipment and you're not paid. Now that could be the end of your business as a small business. Would like to suggest to you that the bank offers export insurance, where we would cover that risk of non-payment against that specific buyer, or as many buyers as you have overseas. We can insure your buyers. We can also insure your domestic buyers, because what we find is that increasingly we're hearing that the incidence of non-payment in the domestic market is perhaps at a higher risk to small business than on the export side. So what we have done, we have broadened our export credit insurance product into what we now call a domestic trade credit product, which means that we provide credit insurance for both export and domestic sales. The idea being that when you sell your goods, right, we want to underwrite those risks such that in an event of non-payment, you can recover 80% of the value of those sales from the bank. In addition to which, if you have what we call approved buyer limit, meaning that, let's say that you are a honey supplier, and you're able to get, and honey is in short suppliers right now, right? And you're able to get your honeys into Mega Mart and Price Mart and La Shusha and some of the major supermarkets. We're able to give you financing, a line of credit expressed in Jamaican dollars, such that when you sell your goods, and typically you'll be selling on credit, right? That's the nature of the business. So if you want to get into some of the bigger marketplace, you have to be prepared to extend credit. Now what you're saying is that credit, or the lack of credit, can cripple your business. So what you're saying is that come to the bank, let us look at your buyers, both export buyers and domestic buyers, so that we can put insurance in place for those buyers. Having done that, we will now give you a line of credit against those buyers through which you can discount your receivables to get cash back quickly, right? Because all about putting in a position to continue to produce at the least cost, all right? So pretty much, the other facility I'd probably like to mention to you is that if you're a member of the JEA or the JMA, as small business persons, there are small lines of credit available both at the JEA and the JMA for small businesses that you can borrow up to $3 million for working capital or for acquisition of small equipment. All right? The bank, we have just moved the office. We are now at 85 Hope Road. That's the Blue Cross building. Our numbers are 630-1400. We have a website, Exim Bank JA, www.eximbankja.com. The information is available on our website, or if you want, I could field questions afterwards. Thank you very much.